Welcome to Idaho Fishing Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fishing Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back to Idaho Fishing Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. This week, we're talking about being a good witness for wildlife, how this December's non-resident tag sale framework is going to work, and an important conservation project taking place on the Teton River. But first, if you thought getting outfished by your spouse was bad enough, imagine what it'd be like when her fish replaced yours on the Idaho State record boards. Here's the full story. Friendly competition among outdoorsy couples can come in many ways, shapes, and forms. Who shot the biggest buck last year? Who limited out first on doves? Who cooked the better camp meal? And last but not least, who caught the bigger fish? Recently, one couple, the Holts, got to experience this firsthand. Couples who fish together stay together, I like to say. But on August 2nd, that theory got put to the test. Brandy and Jared Holt of Homedale were hucking bait out into the Snake River late that night when Brandy's rod tip suddenly bowed toward the river. As soon as she started cranking on the reel, she felt the unmistakable feeling of a large river monster fighting on the end of the line. Brandy managed to haul the giant flathead catfish aboard the boat where her husband Jared anxiously rolled out the tape measure. You see, since September 20th of 2020, Jared Holt had held the catch and release state record for the same exact species Brandy was now putting next to the tape. You can see photos and read about Jared Holt's 42-inch long flathead catfish on our website. But the angling gods were smiling upon Brandy that night as the tape measure, stretched nose to tail, read 44 inches. Brandy Holt's flathead catfish now stands as the official catch and release state record, dethroning her husband's 42-inch cat. Quote, "I was hesitant to even submit the record," Holt said. Quote, "My husband puts in so much time and effort all year trying to beat his own personal best, and it was really his encouragement that convinced me to go ahead and send it in," end quote. Flathead catfish can be found in the Snake River and associated reservoirs in southwest Idaho. They're typically found in the Snake River between CJ Strike and Brownlee reservoirs, but their numbers are higher in the river sections closer to Brownlee Reservoir. They can also be found occasionally in lower reaches of tributaries like the Weiser and Payette rivers. While they're not as common as channel catfish, they can reach some surprising sizes, making them a great trophy opportunity. Idaho's largest flathead catfish was caught in 1994 from Brownlee Reservoir, weighing in at 58.4 pounds and stretching to 48 inches. Now, for more on this story and to see photos of the 44-inch river monster for yourself, hit the link in the description. Next up, some important tag sale information if you're a non-resident hunter. If you're a non-resident hunter looking to hunt deer or elk in Idaho next year, the process is going to look a little different and much improved. This move to a draw should be celebrated as a win for non-resident hunters. The new framework replaces the historical first-come, first-served tag sale that occurred online and at license and tag vendors, which frustrated many out-of-state hunters. Now, the modified non-resident tag framework does have one important caveat. Out-of-state hunters will be required to buy a non-resident hunting license in order to draw any 2026 tags. The sticker price on a non-resident license to hunt is $185 and is non-refundable. In other words, if you don't draw, you don't get your money back. However, once you have your non-resident hunting license in your possession, you will be eligible to put in for a whole slew of tag opportunities, including deer, elk, and pronghorn controlled hunts, or moose, bighorn sheep, and mountain goat tags. Additionally, you could purchase returned or unsold tags. Now, there are a couple dates every non-resident hunter should write down. December 5th through the 15th of 2025 is going to be the application period for the 2026 tag drawing. January of 2026, early on in the month, results will be available. On January 20th, that's going to be the deadline for successful applicants to buy their tags. Then in February 5th through the 15th, That's going to be the second application period for any tags not drawn or not purchased. Early on in March of 2026, results for that second application period will be announced, and March 20th will be the deadline to buy tags. The 2026 non-resident supplement and the big game seasons and rules will be available in October of this year, 2025. Hunters should know the deer hunting unit and or elk zone for the tags for which they want to apply. The non-resident draw allows up to 5 hunt choices on an application, and up to 4 hunters can be on one application, but all must have a valid annual hunting license. DAV tags will have a separate drawing for the reduced fee DAV tags. Hunters eligible for DAV may also apply for non-resident tags, but will have to pay full non-resident tag prices. Non-resident junior mentored tags will continue to be available, but junior mentored hunters only need to apply for elk tags in capped zones. Uncapped elk tags and deer tags will be available over the counter for junior mentored hunters after the non-resident draws are completed. Former Idaho residents who are lifetime license holders can buy tags outside of the non-resident quotas, so they will not have to apply for general season non-resident tags. Tags for lifetime license holders can be purchased in the summer when the resident tags become available. So hunters, if you're interested in applying for non-resident deer and elk tags in December, you should check back regularly for more information on the non-resident deer and elk tag webpage. You can hit the link below to read this story on our website. Next, lower Granite Dam counts say one thing, but catching says another. Here's your fall Chinook salmon report. Fall Chinook salmon anglers who are keeping an eye on window counts at lower Granite Dam might not be aware of why fishing near Lewiston and Clarkston in late summer doesn't always match up to their expectations. To have a successful hatchery program that continues to bring adult fall Chinook back to the Snake River, adult fish are collected for broodstock at lower Granite Dam. As fish are counted and move upstream through the fish ladder, some of those fish get trapped and processed by a crew made up from several agencies, including Idaho Fish and Game, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and NOAA Fisheries. A fall Chinook working group dedicates a lot of time trying to answer a variety of questions before fall trapping starts at lower Granite Dam. These questions include how many adults are needed to make broodstock goals, how many big fish are needed to ensure we retain those genes in the future, how many natural fish, non-hatchery reared, are needed, how do we ensure we do not handle more steelhead than is necessary, and what is the best way to meet program goals. As you can imagine, coming up with such a plan is complicated and can change as the season develops. For this year, the plan was to start trapping 70% of the fish coming through the ladder from August 18th through September 7th, and then drop the trap rate to 16%. The trap does not have the ability to select certain species, so it's a catch-all of everything in that ladder. This is why it is important to look at how many total fish are going to need to be handled. Trapping during this early part of the season allows the team to collect a fair number of large fall Chinook, many of which are natural origin fish. The strategy also means that the high trap rate does not trap as many steelhead because they tend to arrive slightly later than fall Chinook at lower Granite Dam. Unfortunately, river conditions are warm in the Columbia River, and both fall Chinook and steelhead timing to lower Granite Dam are later than expected. There were also fewer larger fish than expected. With a later run timing and fewer big fish being trapped, extending the high trap rate was necessary to ensure enough adults are collected to meet broodstock goals. As of the end of trapping on September 9th, a total of 2,532 adult fall Chinook have been collected for broodstock at lower Granite Dam, and 2,129 adults and jacks were returned to the river. The broodstock goal is approximately 4,000 adult fish that are at least 28 inches in length. Collection of broodstock fish will continue at lower Granite Dam, and during the season, further adjustments might still occur, such as modifying the trap rate or size criteria if the expected return to lower Granite Dam changes. A lower trap rate is needed to reduce the amount of fish being trapped and handled when more fish are expected to arrive. With numbers of fall Chinook and steelhead starting to bump up at Ice Harbor Dam, the trap rate was lowered to 16% on September 9th, so more fish should be coming your way. If you have any questions regarding the fall Chinook salmon program and the trapping that occurs at Lower Granite Dam, feel free to contact Fish and Game Fisheries biologist Marika Dobos, or you can contact the regional manager, Joe DuPont, or other staff at the Lewiston Regional Office by email or call in 208-750-5010. For our last story this week, here's how you can be a good witness and help our officers make a case. Hopefully your hunting season is all about making great memories and enjoying Idaho's outdoors, but you may encounter someone violating hunting rules. Being a good witness not only helps Idaho Fish and Game conservation officers investigate a case, it ultimately increases the likelihood a violator who's stealing our wildlife and cheating other hunters is caught and prosecuted. Callers to the Citizens Against Poaching hotline at 1-800-632-5999 can report anonymously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Cash rewards are available to callers who provide information leading to the citation of a suspected wildlife law violator. Folks can also file an anonymous report online. So help be the eyes and ears for protecting Idaho's wildlife, but remember that safety should always be your first priority when acting as a witness to a crime. When reporting a wildlife crime, these specific details will help us investigate a case. First off, describe the vehicle and note the license plate, vehicle type, and color. Also note where did the crime take place. Maybe use a GPS location or mapping app to pinpoint the location where the crime occurred. Also note what kind of wildlife was involved. Take photos or videos that help capture the scene. And lastly, describe the suspect and be specific as possible. That's it for major stories this week, folks. Let's hit the rapid fire bulletin. Speaking of wildlife crime, on the night of September 6th around 8 p.m., a mature white-tailed buck was shot and left to waste off Woodside Road, just south of Winchester Lake State Park. The deer appears to have been shot at night using a spotlight and high-caliber rifle. No attempt seemed to be made to recover or harvest any portion of the meat. Citizens Against Poaching, or CAP, is offering a $400 reward for anyone who has information that helps lead to prosecution of this case. Waterfowl hunters heading to Fort Boise Wildlife Management Area this season will face a major change. As of July 1st, the WMA is open only from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Access outside those hours is now prohibited. The same rule also applies at the nearby Roswell Marsh Wildlife Habitat Area. The new hours will impact certain hunting and angling activities, such as overnight catfishing, the late-night running of hounds, and entering the WMA or WHA before 5 a.m. to quote-unquote reserve a duck hunting spot, especially on the opening day of waterfowl season. Idaho Fish and Game is launching a conservation project this fall to protect native Yellowstone cutthroat trout in the Teton River Canyon. The goal of this project is to limit threats to cutthroat in Teton Canyon by significantly reducing the rainbow trout population in the lower 5.5 miles of Badger Creek. To accomplish this, Fish and Game will conduct a rotenone treatment on October 8th. Hit the link below to read James Brower's full press release to learn more. Idaho Fish and Game has issued a salvage order for the pond at Jensen Grove Park in Blackfoot effective September 8th through October 15th. At this time, the pond water levels are decreasing rapidly, and any remaining fish will not survive when water levels in the pond become unsuitable. Therefore, an order of salvage is warranted to maximize public use of these fish. That's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind, or if you got a question related to Fish and Game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week.